Rob, great to be here this lovely day.
And one of the most renowned bee fighters in this part of the country.
Oh, I have a reputation. I have the old Western cowboys had a notch in their gun with a pistol for everybody they shot. You ought to see my notches with the Yellow Jackets. It's a full plank.
Could have used your help earlier this week, Admiral.
Yeah, I took one look and said, "It's your problem, Rob. I'm going home."
The boss's wife went on down there yesterday with some foam and just doused those suckers.
Well, your problem is unlike what mine. In my cases, I generally know where the nest is. In your case here, they were throughout the whole room. There's no telling where the nest was, so to spray them would have been more difficult.
And that was in the old studio downstairs. That was a bit of a surprise to me when I went down there the other day.
Now, do Yellow Jackets have natural enemies? Is a badger one of those natural enemies?
I don't know, but I know this. He's here right now. Delegate Michael Hite. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Great to be here.
And he came in with his Lance Lord poking the bear. Or maybe we were poking him, one of the two.
He was in a good mood when he got here, but after talking to you for 2 minutes, he was already getting up in the edge of his seat.
Badgers fear nothing.
Let's welcome in our first guest of the day. The Friday Five will join us after the break at the bottom of the hour. He is the newest justice on the Supreme Court of Appeals, Justice Thomas H. Ewing. Good morning, sir. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. What brings you to the Panhandle this morning?
Well, so as a recent appointee to the Supreme Court, obviously I have an election coming up in May to keep the seat.
Come on closer to your microphone.
The Eastern Panhandle is obviously an important part of the state. It's one that doesn't always get a whole lot of attention from the folks in Charleston, and I'm sort of I think an unknown quantity up here, and so I thought it was important to use the time in association with the judicial conference that was at Canaan to get up here and get out and talk to people and meet people. So I've got a full day of interviews and meet and greets, and just trying to get out and see people and let them know more about me and why I should keep the job at May.
I think you've got a background that many people would like to know about because much of the work you have done as a judge has dealt with family law and that whole channel of the law. Can you get into some detail about that?
Yeah, so my experience, the one thing I think is important that I bring to the table as a justice is that circuit court judge experience. In particular, I'm probably the first one that has family treatment court, drug court, truancy, just the alternative courts, the problem-solving courts. I have that experience and definitely bring that perspective with me to the court. The family, to be honest with you, the best thing I did as a circuit court judge was family treatment court. It was very successful. Saw people's lives change, families change, and it really helped create a different atmosphere for abuse and neglect cases in our whole circuit, and really helped all the stakeholders to view things a little bit different, and created, I think, a more sense of more collaboration and a greater emphasis on reunification and doing what needed to be done in order to safely reunify kids with their parents.
You also dealt with truancy issues.
Yes, I started a truancy diversion program in connection with or consultation, cooperation with the Board of Education in Fayette County. And when I first started, there weren't a whole lot of truancy cases being filed, but I had kids in public school. I coached Little League. I was around. I knew there were problems. I knew that the truancy was an issue. So we hired a school-based probation officer, built a diversion program around that school-based probation officer, and had a pre-petition diversion process where the school-based probation officer and a group of folks worked with the family to try to resolve the underlying issues that were leading to truancy. Because truancy is, most of the time, it's a symptom of something bigger going on with the family. So, and sometimes it was just the parents just needed backing of someone else, and it's helped solve the problem. But that truancy program around the school-based probation officer is one of the, probably the second best thing that I did while I was a judge because it helped keep kids in school, helped those parents have the backing and support, and helped problem solve. Again, a lot of what courts do now on the circuit court level is problem solving, sort of social work type of work that it's not typically what folks understand as law and order, what courts do, but now a large part of what's done as a result of the the drug epidemic that's impacted our state is more problem-solving related approaches from the court.
Very good. And you decided that being part of the Supreme Court was for you because why?
So I'm naturally more like academic and research oriented. I love the research and writing. And so initially, to be honest with you, you never expected me in law school to be a circuit judge. You probably never expected me to be in this position. Mm-hmm. I didn't do a whole lot of trial work as a lawyer and really didn't want to. But as a circuit judge, the part of the job that I really liked was the researching, writing the orders, making the decisions, the academic part of it. Spent a few assignments on the Supreme Court over the years, I think 6 or 7 total. And basically after the first one, I knew this is something I would like to pursue. Now, obviously, I was fortunate to get the appointment. It's not something I didn't expect. I was hoping, applied, sure. But it wasn't something I expected, though I thought I had the experience and the resume could get me at least to the governor for consideration. So I wanted to do it because I think my skill set and my interests are more aligned with this type of work than it is anything else I've done in my career, to be honest with you.
Bill? And by the way, those donuts that the justice brought in doesn't mean he gets easy questions from you guys.
Never. We can be bribed, but not quite that easy. So that's okay.
Speak for yourself.
A couple of questions, Justice Ewing. But first, regarding the May election, but before that, I see that you're a recognized West Virginia Bar Foundation Fellow in 2025. What does that mean?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I went to a ceremony in, I think it was the spring of last year. The Bar Fellows program, if somebody recommends you, you go through a sort of selection process, and it's based on your experience, your legal experience, your legal work, but also like community related work, and it's just a recognition that those folks who are recognized as fellows have contributed to the legal community and I guess a significant enough way that they want to recognize you. Now I don't know who recommended me. I don't, it was obviously a big surprise for me at that time last year, but I was honored to get the recognition, obviously.
And in company with that, you're a recognized champion of the children by Just for the Kids. That kind of addresses what you were speaking to a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, that was a little different. That organization, Child Advocacy Center, is an organization out of Beckley, Raleigh, and Fayette County, and they basically recognized me for work that I had done that impacted children. In particular, I think the Family Treatment Court and the truancy program, I think, was what got, again, somebody recommended. I have no idea who did that. I'm honored to receive the nomination and honored to receive the recognition. But it's those are two recognitions that I value. But that's we don't do the job for that. It just hopefully the recognition that you're doing a good job comes with the work you do.
A couple of questions regarding the May election. One with you specifically. Do you know of anyone that's going to be running against you?
As of right now, I do not. But we
Okay.
still have a while before the filing period would really open, and then ends in sometime in end of January, I believe. So I don't know. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get out now and show that I'm serious about maintaining the position. I love the job right now. Like I said, I think this is my skill set, experience lines up, and really, I've enjoyed the first month plus that I've been there. So I want to get out first of all and let people know that I want to maintain the position, and also make the case as to why I should maintain it, because that's the most important part. That's what the voters want to know. The people want to know is why should they continue to trust me with this position that impacts the state in a variety of ways. So that's really what I'm trying to do. Is get
Justice, if you could avoid your hands on the table, that Mike picks it up and makes a
Sorry.
thudding sound.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. People do it all the time.
Yeah, Governor Marsh is in the process of going through a selection process for Justice Tim Armstead's untimely death. Will that vacancy also be up for the May election?
As far as I know, it will, based on the timing. If it would have been within 3 years of the election cycle, so I think if it would have been really after January 1st of 2026, then that person would have automatically received the rest of the unexpired term and would only have to set for election at the end of the unexpired term. My problem is Justice Walker's term only had 2 years left on it, and I fell within that 3-year period. So I have to have go through the election in May for the unexpired term, and then turn around in May of 2028 unless the law changes. I mean, there's been some discussion about the changing the elections from partisan to nonpartisan, from nonpartisan to partisan. I mean, just assuming everything stays the same, then I would have 2 elections in a short period of time.
So the triggering event is the death or the vacancy as opposed to the appointment date. Is
Yes,
that correct?
when the vacancy was created.
Okay.
So when I had my initial press conference with Governor Morrissey when he made the appointment, there was a reporter who asked a question about the election, because there was some confusion initially when Justice Walker retired about whether there was going to be this quick May 26th primary election, or whether it was going to just fall to the next election cycle. But I think ultimately the Secretary of State's resolved that confusion and confirmed that it's going to, there's going to be 2. For me, the next election will be May 26th.
Delegate Height.
Let me get the timing straight here. So right now you're running, or actually you've been appointed, and you have to run at the very next election, which is the primary, and that's to continue to keep the seat for the unexpired term for an additional 2 years, of which Justice Walker, that would have been the end of her term. And then you have to run again, and if you win that, it's for a 12-year period?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me start by saying that because I had no idea who you were when I found out that you would be on this morning, I do what I often do when I don't know somebody, is I reach out to somebody who I think does. So I reached out to a fellow delegate and a friend from Raleigh County, Elliot Pritt, and Elliot could not have spoken more highly of you.
appreciate that.
He absolutely glowing review is what he gave you. Even expressed his sadness that you would not be a district judge in his area anymore. And to me, that says a lot when somebody from your area speaks that highly of you. So congratulations on that front.
Appreciate it.
You sort of answered a lot of my questions of what makes a good justice as opposed to just a circuit court judge. And you talk about the research and the background and stuff like that you like to do. And that seems to be a departure of what you're doing already as a circuit judge in the family court. So what do you expect as not just an appeals court judge, but the Supreme Court of Appeals. What do you expect to be your role as a Supreme Court justice?
To try to get the answer right. I mean,
Sure.
That's for me. The questions, the issues that come before us. Like I said, most of the issues are going to be essentially 5-0 votes. Everybody's going to agree, but there are those handful of issues where they're decisive or they're complicated, and there's different viewpoints. And for me, I just want to get the right answer. And I'll give you a little bit of a story and it help explain this. So during the JVAC interview, one of the members of the panel asked a question about what do you think would make qualities would make a good circuit or would make a good Supreme Court justice. And I said curiosity, and I think everybody in the room was like, "That's odd." And so they asked me to explain it, and the reason why I use curiosity is I want to know how did we get here? How did the law evolve to this way? What's the backstory? What's the backstory on, what are the facts? Understand those, because if you're not curious enough to try to find those answers, then you're only looking at like a snippet of the situation and making a decision based on that small snippet. So understanding the evolution of the law, understanding how we got here, understanding the legislative history, understanding all that, as I've always been just fascinated by that, and that curiosity helps develop an understanding of what answer is dictated by the language of the statute, the language of the Constitution, and legislative history, all those things. So for me, curiosity and being interested in those things as a judge, as a justice, I think is a pretty important trait to have, because it's going to cause me to dig into things a little bit deeper than I may otherwise have.
As a legislator, I'm glad to hear that, because I think sometimes there's a disconnect between the language that comes out in a bill and the intent of the legislation when they're trying to pass something. That the lawyers that put the words together, the legalese, a lot of times I think doesn't truly reflect the intent of the legislature. So it's open to interpretation. And I'm glad you're someone that is willing to go back and try to find the actual intent of a bill or a law when making their decision.
Well, I mean, in some ways it depends on the circumstances and the language. You have to start with the language.
Sure, absolutely.
And the language, if the language says what it says, then I mean that's what has to be the answer. But the language isn't always where for the most part that's where we start. And if it's ambiguous, then there's your answer. But if not, then you're going to have to do some work to figure out what was the intent.
Kind of follow up on Mike's very good question. Is that a precedent? For years, precedent has been one of the keystones, I think, for decisions. Now, that has been challenged somewhat recently on the U.S. Supreme Court by one of the justices saying precedent is something which should not really pay too much heed to. What do you think the role of precedent should be?
Well, precedent, stare decisis is sort of the term you'll see. I mean, one of the reasons why it's important is for consistency purposes. So everybody knows what the law is, knows how to plan. Especially whether it's government, other government agencies, businesses, attorneys. Like the applying the precedent gives predictability and understanding. But there are certainly going to be times when that precedent may have not aged well. I mean, we can all look back and say, the Supreme Court case Plessy versus Ferguson didn't age well. I mean, you didn't want to keep that precedent going once you realized, with the hindsight and the 2020 that comes with that wasn't a good decision. So, as the court system has to be willing to look at precedent and see whether it still has value But the predictability of precedent stare decisis is, I think, a very valuable thing for especially government agencies, businesses, and attorneys. So that predictability is important, but it's not. I don't think that should be the determinative factor if it's clearly outlived its useful life.
A question that we ask always to the circuit court candidates, and the same thing obviously to the Supreme Court, is you're limited in what you can say. You cannot project a situation that you might eventually make give an opinion on. How do you campaign? By having your hands tied like that?
Well, that's a delicate balance. I did it a little bit as a circuit court judge, but my races were uncontested both times. So, I really didn't get out and have as many of these type of opportunities. In the interview process with the JVAC and with the governor, you had to be aware of that.
Second, JVAC then what?
Is the Judicial Vacancy Advisory Commission.
Thank you.
Those are the folks that meet with the candidates initially or the applicants and then make a recommendation to the governor. Sorry about that. So, you know that process you had to be aware and understand, because obviously as a judge, the ethical obligations from the Code of Judicial Ethics that are imposed on judges and candidates, I mean, they apply the same. I mean, if a lawyer runs for a judicial office, they're subject to the same ethical rules as if that person was a sitting judge. It's first of all, it's just knowing where the lines are, because certainly don't want to do anything that causes me to get a reprimand or something worse for something I said or did that created an ethical violation. But it's a delicate balance, and it just takes some understanding and awareness. And for me, I just understand where the line is. I don't even want to get in the gray area. I mean, that's just sort of, somebody said this at Tim Armstead's service. If there was the way he was, if there was a line, he wasn't even near the line. Like, he was the awareness. And for me, that's really where I want to be, is just not even get to where I'm in the gray area or create that issue, and just try to maintain a general. I think mostly people want to know what you're about, where your experience, how you see things. I mean, that's going to get. Obviously, the governor was very concerned about that in his interviews. He wanted to get an understanding of what made me tick, because that does provide some indication on how you may process cases or process information.
Before Rob cuts me off, I have one quick.
Too late. You've already been cut off.
Yes or no answer. Should we go to partisan elections for just?
So that's one I don't know whether I should answer.
Okay.
Or not.
I would say you should not.
No.
So
but
I think it's a policy decision.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I don't think justices should be making decisions on that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
Justice Thomas H. Ewing from the Supreme Court. We appreciate his time this morning. And donuts.